Hey guys, so if you're watching this, you're probably a business owner or a founder that is simply looking to either increase your number of leads down your pipeline or to simply get more conversion down your sales calls. If you don't know me, my name is Ismail Forni. I'm the CEO and founder of the North Scale Group. We're a private equity firm based in Canada, and we basically help other companies scale across marketing, media, and technology. And in this video, I'm going to share 4 marketing principles that I've learned over the past 7 years running my marketing and public relations businesses. So the first principle is you cannot dominate what you cannot create. And the simple reason for that is because when you see a lot of companies, when they're trying to approach their campaign, their marketing efforts, their sales efforts, they're trying to copy what actually works in the market, right? And that's a very human nature thing, right? You want to emulate what works and you want to forget and discard what doesn't, of course, right? Now, the main issue with this mindset and this approach in and of itself is that when you're looking over campaigns from the outside, right? You're looking over the creatives, you're looking over the copy of their competitor, maybe you're looking over the outreach methods of your other business across the streets. It doesn't really matter, right? You see what works, you're getting customers in, but you don't really understand what's going behind the scenes. And that's the exact problem. And it is a very subtle concept and principle. You might have heard of the blue ocean versus red ocean strategy, and it's a very similar type of thing. But in marketing, we typically say you cannot recreate a campaign and get the same results twice. And the simple reason for that is because when you see a lot of these successful campaigns from the outside, you see the copy, you see the flashy outlines, but you cannot really see the behind the scenes, right? You don't see the fulfillment, you don't see the creative and the thought process that went behind the scenes to create this enormous amount of success over the span of months, years. It doesn't really matter because that's really private. And your goal as a business owner or as a marketer is to actually focus on the long-term creation of growth. And for any one of you who understand how to achieve and compete within this level of growth in the marketplace, you understand that there's a level of preparation and strategy that is technically not seen at all. And if you apply this principle to your marketing campaigns or to your pricing model, you have to understand that you cannot compete on a commodity-based level. Because if you're trying to stand out based on your price or the nature of your business model, and that's how you really want to stand out, people are going to perceive you as another commodity on the market. They're going to compare you, basically. And technically speaking, you don't really want to be seen or perceived as potentially comparable to your competitors, right? You want to be seen as the most viable option. And the simple way you want to avoid that, you want to get out of this entire comparison model in and of itself, is by simply creating your own category, right? You want to create one. You want to create your own blue ocean. How can you distinguish yourself based on the current market conditions? Second principle, data is pretty much everything. You have to understand that when it comes to your funnel, you're trying to track everything, you need to have the right tracking systems in place. That's the first thing. But secondly, you need to understand what that data actually tells you about your entire pipeline, right? So you've had the right tracking systems in place that are actually the most sensible ones, right? They're great. Now, the thing here is, are you actually great at reading the right data? Right? Because the right data can actually help you spot the right inefficiencies at the right time without wasting any more capital. Let's say, for example, whether it's pushing ads, whether it's content, whether it's outreach, it doesn't really matter what kind of mechanism you're using or leveraging to attract the right traffic, to convert that right traffic. But the key here is to actually, hey, what is the data telling me? So concretely, if we take an example very briefly, you might have leveraged LinkedIn to acquire new customers recently, okay? And over the past 4 weeks, you've been doing outreach solely. So when it comes to LinkedIn or any other types of platforms, it's very important to understand the psychology, the data, the motivations, the interests of every single type of user that comes on board, okay? And the simple reason for that is because every single type of message or at least approach is going to vary based on that, and aka the overall expectation. And before we jump into this example in detail, it's very important to consider and take into account that most of the users that use LinkedIn, they have very different motivations, interests, and expectations when it comes to using this platform versus using Instagram, okay? And of course, this sounds like common sense, but most marketers, when it comes to crafting their own messaging, their own value creation, they don't really align it with the platform in and of itself, and it creates a lot of misalignments. They don't get the results, they don't get the leads, and they get frustrated very easily. Okay, so when it comes to LinkedIn, we have to understand that this is a very professional setting. And when it comes to that, there's simply 2 types of profiles that we can really focus on. The first one is the type of people that simply use LinkedIn to connect over their people through their own network, through the conferences that they meet in person. And secondly is the people like you and us. So we want to use LinkedIn to create content. We want to push more value to our potential customers and get more traction. going back to the data-driven aspect, if you, let's say for example, you send out 100 messages every single week, right? And you have a pretty decent response rate, 25-30%, but you don't get any leads, right? You don't get any calls booked for at least 4 weeks straight, but you have the response rate. Now, technically, you want to track backwards down the steps. So if you don't have any great leads, if you don't have any calls booked, you see, you need to take a look at the conversation. Are these too long? Are you actually responding to the customers or the prospects' needs in the first place, right? Do they want? Are they real estate brokers? Are they people who are always busy on their phone or not? Do they want to actually go straight to the point? Are you actually taking too much time to answer to their calls or sorry, their texts? So it's actually about understanding, okay, what's their needs? How can I make sure that I fulfill their needs as efficiently as possible? Now, secondly, let's say for example, you see that the conversation seems decent, right? There's not any kind of blockage, but the main point here, the main deficient and the main constraint comes from the need in and of itself. Okay, so there's not much urgency when it comes to, hey, I want to fulfill this for you, but you don't really want to, you're not really interested in actually potentially using your product or service. So you might go back to your targeting. Are you using Sales Navigator the best way? Are you actually focusing on the right targeting? Are you actually focusing on the right filters? And so on. And the third and final principle is that marketing and psychology is pretty much the same. Okay, you have to understand that marketing is basically just a tool of communication, and that's really the gap between you and the market. The best people, the best marketers, the best entrepreneurs, the best founders that understand how to get those clients in front of their door and actually talk to those people in the first place are the ones who understand how to leverage that simple tool. And the way we do that is to understand, okay, I know that I have this data in front of me. Going back to the second point, it's very interrelated, but you're gonna see. So I have, let's say for example, going back to this LinkedIn example, I have maybe 40% connection rate. Okay, I've sent out 150, 200 connection requests. I've maxed out my connection requests for the week. But what happens here is my connection request acceptance rates is very low. Okay, from a psychological standpoint, you have to understand why when people view my profile, they don't really convert. Why are they not accepting my connection request? Is it because I don't have anything on my profile to offer them in terms of value? Is it because I have to warm them up manually every single time through the messages that they don't really convert afterwards? What's really going on here? You know what I mean? And the same goes for your content. If you take a look at your organic content, you're pushing a lot, there's a lot of quantity, there's a lot of distribution that's going on. Technically speaking, you don't really offer a lot of value, meaning, let's say for example, you have a lot of impressions, you have a lot of pretension when it comes to the value of the video, people are watching it, but they don't really follow through, right? So are you actually rewarding your audience properly? Are you actually making sure that your audience are becoming loyal? Do you give them the tool to become loyal? And that's very subtle things that most people, they're trying to discard. Again, psychology is everything. If you take a look and extract data from this principle, it's going to be much easier to actually focus on scaling and scaling and scaling on and on and on and on. So if you've liked this video, please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to the channel to further videos, and I'll see you next time.